Wow, what a day 6 at Wimbledon. That was crazy. There were so many matches going on, so many great matches going on, so many top seeds playing at the same time. It was honestly hard to keep track. And I watched what I could. I saw some great matches. I saw some tight finishes from certain players, not naming any names. But we'll break it down right now. We'll get into how good Medvedev's looking there out there. This guy making an appearance back deep in Wimbledon after people forgot about him. And of course, we'll touch on ADF making one of the most brain dead mistakes we've seen in tennis in a long time, especially at a certain uh, end of a huge, big match that was very tight. And yeah, that was tough to watch. Anyways, we'll break it down. This is the slice. Let's get into day 6 action at Wimbledon right now. Okay, people. Well, like I said, a lot going on today. So before we get into it, huge shout out to our sponsors who keep me focused on the action. Cool Bet, the official sports book of the slice. If you have not yet and you're thinking about, if you bet on tennis and you don't use Cool Bet, you're breaking my heart. You got to use Cool Bet. Stay cool, bet responsibly. Link below to get free money to use. And AG1, the official nutritional drink of the slice. For those of you who have signed up, let us know how you feel, how you like it, how it tastes. I think for a greens drink like that, it's about as good as it could taste. And they're sponsors of the show, so huge shout out. As well as Go Sport, secure the bag, premium tennis bags from Go for you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. Subscribe if you have not. Day 6, though, what a day. Like I said, a lot going on. I'm going to talk about ADF, Berrettini, Andreescu losing to Ons Jabeur. Bit of a tough end there for Andreescu, where I feel like she kind of gave it away. I'm going to talk about journalists blowing it. That happened again where, a journalist congratulated a player for winning when they had, in fact, lost. And I'm going to give my 2 cents on why that's happening. We're going to look at how Alcaraz is doing. Very good. Tough match today. And we're going to look at Medvedev, who's also playing very well. Kind of the top half played today. We had, obviously, Djokovic beating Wawrinka fairly easily yesterday. And we had Murray ending up losing to Stefanos Tsitsipas, who has, in fact, outdone the haters and been able to produce a decent little run here at Wimbledon, even while being totally love-struck and not focused on the tennis as much, it seems. So let's get into it. Right off the top, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. I mean, what are you doing? So as you can see in the short clip I'll play from the Wimbledon Twitter, no copyright, 8-all in the 5th set, super tiebreaker. After he was up he was way up in this tiebreaker. I think he was up 8-4 at one point, 6-2 at another point. He goes for the drop shot on the serve.
Has conceded 2 mini breaks, an underhanded serve.
And as you can see,
it goes against the man.
Holger Rune, he can't believe it. Holger Rune runs up and just wipes it. Easy cross-court winner on the return. Probably the easiest, he's had in a long time. I mean, that is just, no matter what you think about the underhand serves, there is a time and place where you can do them. And Nick Kyrgios has figured out a way to do them very well. But in general, it's a joke. It's a joke of a shot. And to pull that out at 8-all in a tiebreaker is just, it's beyond belief. So that is an ADF super cringe moment. He did say afterwards that he literally shit himself. Not literally, obviously, but he shit himself. That was what he just basically had a mental flop. So I'm calling it a mental malfunction from Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, which gave Holger Rune a match point and ended up costing him in the match. So that's pretty crazy. What do you guys think about that? Now, Matteo Berrettini, the boss, the hammer, the Italian stallion, back looking pretty good. I was thinking Zverev was going to be a tough beat at this year's tournament with the way he had played at Halle. And Berrettini takes him out in a very close match. We're going to look at all the scores and results like we do. But this surprised me. Berrettini it shouldn't really surprise you. He made the Wimbledon final for a reason 2 years ago, but he just has not played. His injuries and his lack of consistency has just made it impossible for him to stay at the level that he was. But I watched the highlights to this match, and it was very tight. Actually, it was three set win for Berrettini, but it easily could have gone a different way. We'll take a look at that in a second, but it was super close, but clean from both guys. Clean meaning there was way more winners than unforced errors, but it was also very grass court vintage. Like there was not that many long rallies, and or from what it seems, and there's just if the first serve was in, there's a great chance the server is winning, and a lot of winners on that third ball as well. So yeah, big win for Berrettini, who will play Alcaraz next, who obviously that's going to be another super dangerous match for Alcaraz in his quest to win Wimbledon, because he's trying to win it. But yeah, Berrettini Alcaraz, that is a juicy fourth round matchup, and like I said, big danger match for Alcaraz in my opinion. Alcaraz, who we're talking about though, played super well to beat a very dangerous Nicolas Jarry, who absolutely pulverizes the ball, has been playing great, super high confidence for the last couple of months. French Open, big run. And I was looking at that matchup, and I was like, that's going to be another tester for Alcaraz. And he's just passing the tests. I mean, he's just passing the test. His first serve, as we'll look at when we get to the stats, is doing serious damage. Obviously, Nicolas Jarry might not be the returner of like a top 10 player, but Alcaraz winning more points on his first serve than Nicolas Jarry, who has a massive first serve. That's pretty big sign that Alcaraz is serving well, and his serve is doing damage on these grass courts like I expected them to, and like we saw at Queens. So yeah, Alcaraz looking good. Bianca Andreescu lost to Ons Jabeur in a tight 3-set match that was rain delayed and seems to have given a big advantage to Ons Jabeur. But they're basically 4-all in the third set, and I think Andreescu played a game where it was like unforced error, double fault, or is unforced error, forced error, I think, double fault, unforced error. So 3 unforced errors out of 4 points to really just donate the games to Ons Jabeur, who then served it out with her great serve. That was tough to watch if you're a Canadian tennis fan, like we are. That was a match where you felt like this is a momentum swinger for Bianca. She's been knocking on the door for the last year. She's been playing okay, but never getting like a huge run put together. And this was a chance to beat, a top 10 seed at the tournament, last year's runner-up. And it was right there. It seems like she's played a bad game. I don't think it's mental. I don't really think it's anything else. She just played a bad game, and that's how tennis can go. It can happen really quickly. But that was not her best showing there at the end. Really, a lot of people said the match wasn't, I didn't watch all of it, but it wasn't like the highest level from either lady the whole time through. But yeah, that's going to sting for Bianca for sure. But I did take away from that, Andreescu is right there with the top 10 players as far as level goes. So she will get a break. You just got to wonder when it's going to come. But it just hurts. That's tennis. There's always, you can always move on, but it just, it's like Andy Murray, keep losing, keep not being able to get a big break. Dominic Thiem, the same thing. It's just very mentally taxing, I'm sure. But I like Andreescu going into the hard courts, going to the US Open. We'll see. So yeah, big win there for Ons Jabeur. She keeps it rolling. Journalists. There was another incident. This was to Paula Badoza, Mrs. Tsitsipas potentially, where the journalist just said, congrats on your win. And she's like, I lost, by the way. Like when Nadal did that back in the day, I lost, by the way. I mean, what I tweeted out on Twitter, a lot of people resonated with. I said, these journalists who come in and cover tennis 8 weeks a year, most of the broadcasters on ESPN are like that. Most of the broadcasters in general are like that because the budgets don't allow for them to cover the tour week in, week out, day in, day out, like we do here on the Slice. But they come in and then they're asking questions and they're just like they don't have a clue. Like it makes no, why if you didn't, I get that. I've been in press rooms where you're like, there's matches going on, someone's coming to press, you're like, oh, I'll go listen. And sometimes they're like, you want to ask a question? And you're like, I didn't even watch the match. Okay, well, I wouldn't ask a question if I didn't watch the match. or you would ask something that doesn't really have to do with the match, or you wouldn't say congrats on the win. It's just like, it's like, duh. So anyways, it's frustrating because journalists like me, like a lot of the other YouTube guys like Gil Gross, like we're not getting credentials to these big tournaments unless we have connections to something without, based on our merit. But we, in fact, are the player or the media people that put in the hours, do the hard work daily, weekly to cover tennis. And then we get kind of journalists who work for big outlets who the tournaments like, they get credentials, but the modern outlets like us who talk to actual tennis fans like you don't get the credentials to the bigger tournaments, which is disappointing. It'll change one day, I believe, for sure, but it's just holding us back from better coverage of our sport right now, and it's making us look bad. It's pissing players off, as it should. Anyway, so yeah, Medvedev also looking great. We'll get into the scores of his match right now. Let's do it. Let's take a look at the top. So Alcaraz and Jarry. Alcaraz beats Nicolas Jarry in 4 sets in just under 4 hours. So it's a very close, very difficult match for Alcaraz. Looking at the stats, Alcaraz hits 12 aces, 7 double faults. First serve in, not super high. But like I said, he won 77% of the first serve points, which is higher than even Nicolas Jarry. He won 52% of his second serves, which is pretty good. And he absolutely annihilated Jarry's second serve, 36% win rate for Jarry there. And then the winners, he had 41 winners, 30 unforced errors. 30 unforced errors over 4 long sets isn't that high. So that's just a clean, that's just a great performance there from Alcaraz, in my opinion, against the 25th seeded Nicolas Jarry, who's absolutely bad to the bone and would have beaten a lot of other players in the third round, I think, for sure, for shizzle my nizzle. Here's another great match. Like I said, Berrettini over Zverev, very close. Aces for Berrettini, 15, which against a long Zverev, that's what he can do. We know that. 86% points won on his first serve. 36 winners to 22 unforced errors. 34 winners for Zverev to 23. So very close. Literally 2 tiebreakers, could have gone either way. That's just how it happens in Wimbledon sometimes. You get to the tiebreaker, it's a coin flip. I don't care who you're talking about. And Berrettini comes through over Zverev. Upsets him, but I mean, really, those guys should be top 6 seeds at Wimbledon. But obviously, due to both of their circumstances, they're not. Holger Rune comes through Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, as we know, because of what we talked about earlier, the mental malfunction from Davidovich Fokina. And then we got Medvedev coming through in 4 against Fucsovics. Medvedev only hitting 6 aces, which is interesting. I think Fucsovics just gets a lot of racket on a lot of balls, even though they have no chance of coming back. Interesting match there, like just 34 winners, 33 unforced errors. But I do think Medvedev, based on the fact that he plays Lehechka next, and then he'll play Tsitsipas or Eubanks to get to the semifinal. He's got a very good route there, I think. So it'll be really interesting to see who comes out of the top half. Obviously, Tsitsipas, who beat Jera, and Eubanks, who's on a roll, obviously, in the 4th round of Wimbledon, which is just amazing for this guy. No longer a challenger player. He will be getting direct entries to a lot of tournaments after the last couple weeks here, which is great for him. Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Rune, Alcaraz, Berrettini. Which one of them are going to come to the top half? Any of those guys, could be a great contender for Djokovic, basically. But that's a very stacked, talent-heavy top half. And we knew that. But it's cool to see them all come through to this stage. Jannik Sinner keeps it moving versus Quentin Halys. Drops a set, but this was all yesterday, obviously. But gets it done. He's got pressure on him, so this would be a great matchup. If we see Sinner and Shapovalov play in the quarterfinals, that would be really cool. We saw Shapovalov beat Brody. We saw Safiullin beat Pela. Safiullin's going to be a very tough match for Shapovalov. He could definitely lose that. He could lose many matches right now, but he could definitely lose to someone who hits it like Safiullin does. yeah, very good. Rublev versus Bublik. That's going to be a chaotic match from as far as emotions go, if you ask me. And then Hurkacz versus Djokovic. That is going to be Djokovic's maybe first real tough test. Hurkacz taking out Musetti in straight sets. So Hurkacz can crack it. And obviously he gave Federer a bagel in his last match ever at Wimbledon, which, last year gave him a bit of a jinx in 2022. Or was that last year? I don't know. Now I'm confused. Let's go to the women, even though I just have to change this over. The ladies. This happened yesterday, I believe. Swiatek Bencic, though, 4th round preview. That's going to be awesome. Bencic on the grass. That's a huge test for Swiatek. And it's going to be interesting to see how Swiatek lives up to that, handles her pace, how Bencic will play, if she can keep it together. You know, she can be fiery for a Swiss. Azarenka through Kasatkina. Azarenka continuing to play good tennis. To play wild card, Elina Svitolina, who continues to just come out of motherhood, or not come out of motherhood, but comes out of having a baby in amazing fashion. Jessica Pegula to play Serenko. Serenko's been playing well, hitting big on the grass. Vondrousova takes out Vekic. She's going to play Buskova. And then that brings us to today's matches. Jabeur takes out Andreescu, like I said, 4-all there in the third set. Easily kind of flip for Jabeur. She's alive. She'll take on Kvitova, who is playing very good. A lot of people think that she's actually a favorite, one of the top favorites to win Wimbledon on the women's side. I agree. Makes sense. Haddad Maya comes through. She plays Rybakina. Rybakina, 6-1, 6-1. I mean, she's just giving out breadsticks. And if we look at the full draw here, Rybakina, she beat, we can't see the score then. She beat Cornet already, and then Rogers. Madison Keys is through. Kostyuk and Sabalenka, who I was looking for, will play Alexandrova, who you got to take Sabalenka there. So we could have, that's a lot of power in the bottom half of the women's draw. I did not kind of realize how stacked this was. So we got Jabeur, Rybakina, and Sabalenka on the bottom half with, Iga Swiatek and Pegula on the top half. But the real contenders, the three, Swiatek's on the top half, the other two are on the bottom, so advantage. Swiatek, you gotta, if you ask me, but this is gonna be a tough next match against Bencic. So that's a wrap on day 6 at Wimbledon. I'm sure you guys appreciate my color-coded notes here. And yeah, what do you think's going to happen? We got a great 4th round. I'm super excited for the 4th round matches. This is where it gets spicy. We've always talked about that. The 4th round frenzy, I've called it in the past. And I think this year it lives up to it. So if you're going to bet on the tennis, use CoolBet. Stay cool. Bet responsibly. Nourish your body with AG1. And get yourself a good tennis bag with Go Sport. Hit the links below. Support our sponsors as they support the show. Thank you guys. We will see you next time here on